It's okay.
Hello everyone, my name is Aysia Rivers, and today I will be speaking with you about the dying industry of print newspaper. Responsible for this extinction is the ever-growing empire of the internet, lack of youthful target audience, and media's 30-year rule. With this information as a basis, print newspaper will vanish within the next 5 to 10 years. Integration of the internet in our everyday lives has made the news more accessible than ever before. All major newspaper companies have online articles which may have begun with the intention of convenience, but have ultimately resulted in harming print newspaper as a whole. This includes papers that we see today: Washington Post, the Orange County Register, and even USA Today. An example that I have of this I actually got from USA Today from an editor named Ryder, and he has a piece called "Lots of Buyers for Newspapers." And as he's arguing his belief on why he believes that newspapers will continue to be successful, he gives this staggering statistic which proves otherwise. In 1990, there was an overall readership of 56,000. As of 2016, it dropped to 28,000. So that's about half of the readership in just that time frame. And to make matters worse, this article was put up online. So he's arguing about why print newspaper is going to be successful online. Okay, and so with everything being online, there's obviously a need to reach the youth of the nation. And so that goes into my second point. According to homekpmg.com, 39% of millennials read the news on a mobile device. Now this may seem like a small percentage, but let me assure you it's not for this reason. So 39% of the millennials are reading news on a mobile device. That doesn't mean the rest of them are reading it on print. That means the rest of them just aren't reading the news. So only 39% are reading. And to kind of give you an idea of how this relates to adults as well, the same website tells us that 62% of adults read news on social media as well. And of the 62%, only 18% do so on a regular basis. So along with that, we have an issue of circulation and revenue. And for those of you who don't know what that is, circulation is how many papers are being distributed, and revenue is the money that you're receiving from the circulation and where it's being circulated. So from 2005 to 2014, circulation has fallen 24%, from 53 million to 40 million. Which doesn't seem like a lot, because when you're looking at things in millions, it seems like it's fine because they're bigger numbers. But let me assure you and show you how much that's affected the revenue. So in that same time frame of 2005 to 2014, revenue has dropped from 47.4 billion to 16.4 billion. So just that small number of circulation that's dropped, it's affected the revenue greatly. And this leads into my third and final point, which is media's 30-year rule. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it was studied by a man named Dr. Moore, and he studied the patterns of media being integrated into different places and how they would either need to adapt or die. And so Moore's 30-year rule states that it takes time for expertise to build, knowledge to grow, and a golden age which typifies a form to emerge. So all that really means is that whenever you're introducing a new form of media, it takes time for people to either accept it or reject it. And so it looks like what we're seeing now is that people are in the golden age of media online. And to give you a little bit better understanding of what that is, journalism.com today states that the first online newspaper was published in 1980. Now, I'm well aware that that means that was 38 years ago, so it seems like the 30-year rule wouldn't apply here. But it wasn't until 2010 that people started saying that the internet was their main source of information for news. And so by that knowledge, the 30-year rule still applies. So as I mentioned before, print newspaper is dying, and it's just a matter of when, not if. And it's dying because of the three things that I mentioned: the growing industry of the internet, the inability to reach the youth of the nation, and media's 30-year rule. So thank you for your time, and I hope you are able to grasp something from this.
Do you have an outline for me now that you can give it to me?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so the proposition is that print's going to disappear, newspapers are going to disappear in 5 to 10 years. At the end of the speech, you basically acknowledge that there's not really a dispute that it's if it's going to happen, it's about when it's going to happen. So your whole argument is based on the notion of this time frame that you're talking about. I think you kind of trip yourself a little bit with the issue of the 1980 original newspaper, online paper, and then 2010, because if it's 1980, we're past the point. If it's 2010, then we've got, more than 20 years still to go. And you've got us someplace in the middle. There needs to be an explanation as to why that middle spot really works for your 5 to 10 year thing. It might be that the 2010 thing is like the tipping point, and that's the way you need to present it. It's like, this is the point at which we can acknowledge that we are now fully committed to this, and it's likely that this is going to increase. And that's when your trend information, I think, would be a little bit more useful, especially the first information that you had about the subscribers and the availability of, like, you had the kind of reluctant testimony of the one person that's talking about that sort of thing. I don't think you'd have a hard time finding additional information to suggest that that's the way things are going here. The preview is, interestingly enough, actually comes before the claim, so that was a little bit confusing, but I understood where you were headed. None of the preview statements, though, and the secondary points are really phrased as declarative sentences. They are phrases or identifying sections, but they don't make inferences by themselves. We have to figure out what the inference is, and for your argument to be clear, you want to tell us what your inference is. You've got some pretty good data on a couple of the points about the decline in subscribers. I think the one about the revenue decline is pretty dramatic. So we had a relatively small, whatever it was, 25% decline in number of subscribers, but that resulted in like a 70% decline or a 60% decline in revenues. And I think that that's an important point. One of the things you might want to point out is that as the revenue drops, newspapers, they either are collapsing together, they're joining one another, or they are just going out of business. And it wouldn't be hard, again, to show that is the trend, to kind of support that earlier point that you've got. I think that would help quite a bit. You do a very nice job speaking to the audience and explaining ideas. Like I said, I think most of the issues just have to do with those minor points that we're talking about. All right, thank you.